doubts and fears written in gold.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Maureen, and good morning, Jenny, and welcome everybody to the MyTarot Morning Reflection, Daily Inventory, and Chance to Take a Breath. And I was actually sitting here holding my cards. So this particular deck, as weird as it is, good morning, Angelina. Old style deck, not popular, which I get, but it's my favorite deck. And I do a lot of reading for different places, different events, all these things like that. And so I had read at Odd Bell, and I always take like 9 or 10 decks with me wherever I go. And I'd left 2 decks there and didn't even realize that I have that many decks. So, we're visiting, talking to her, seeing how she's doing, and she's like, oh, and I think these are yours. And she gave me my decks, which is like, okay, totally forgot. Somehow or another that led to this little weird thing this morning where I was thinking, this is my favorite deck. It's like, I wonder how many cards are in here. Like, have I been losing cards all along? There's supposed to be, 78? And I had this urge to count the cards. And I decided, does it really matter? I always say that everything's an omen and there are no coincidences. So it doesn't really matter if cards are missing because I left them behind. And then it just kind of spread everything else. It's like relationships. It's like, if we go looking for flaws in a relationship, we're definitely going to find them. And then what are we going to do? If I look for flaws in this deck and I see that it's missing 2, that's how the universe had set it up. It's like, what am I going to do? Get rid of the deck? So I just thought it was just a weird little thing to be thinking about in the morning. But I'm not going to count the deck because if 2 cards were missing in here, and there's probably not any missing, I'll never know. I won't know anytime soon. Well, then that's how it's supposed to be. I don't know if there's a lesson in there for me or not, but that's what I was thinking about this morning. But if you go looking for flaws, you will find them, and then what are you going to do? So, again, welcome MyTarot Morning Reflection. Listening to the cards like they're the sounds of the ocean. And that reminds me, hey, where are my feet? My feet happen to be flat on the floor. Rolling my ankles because that just feels really good. But doing the kitty dance, get that all comfortable and situated. Checking in with the shoulders and the neck and feeling the light switch go off. So that we can check in with the universe, see if we have anything like any angers or resentments we can share, or anything that might trigger us throughout the day. Whereas if in the morning, when we take a moment to ourselves, we recognize how we're feeling. And so if something happens during the rest of the day, we're like, oh, well, I don't need to let that trigger me because I already thought and dealt with that. So let's see what we have here. Yeah, sounds like releasing of what you need to let go of. And you know what? And not even knowing you needed to let go of it. Just trusting the universe. So, I am going to make our 3 stacks, if it lets me. Each one a different thread going out to the universe. It's like each one's a different... It's like each one's a different thread going out to the universe, like each one's a different thought or idea. And if we believe in the multiverse, it's like each one of these is a different path because this stack will lead down one path. This conversation's a totally different path from this one, and the question is, which one do we want to walk down? What thread do we want to pull? Isn't that the euphemism for insanity, not playing with a full deck? what I've always lived by, and I can't find where this quote came from, and I've looked for it. But in an insane society, one must act insane to appear normal. Think about that one. In an insane society, one must act insane to appear normal. So I'm going to take the top deck, or what I like to think of as things that are right in front of us and we don't even realize it. So I'm going to start with hour, 3, and 1. And I'll flip them over one at a time like we're reading the pages of a book. So, flipping the first card over. Interesting. The Tower. Or as Hollywood likes to point out, it's the Tower of Destruction. It means death, destruction, structures coming down, blah, blah. It's actually called not the Tower, it's La Maison Dieu. And that means the house of God. So you guys have heard me explain this before. And I love explaining this for people who've never thought of it in this direction, because most people, if I'm sitting there reading for somebody, I'll ask them, particularly if they read tarot, what do you think of when you see the Tower? Because books have these different interpretations, and they throw in the astrology and the people falling and things like that. But then I like to ask that question you've heard before, some of you. What's the one thing that hurts worse than a lie? And it's interesting if you ask people that, because people will say betrayal, people will say, and then when I say a lie, and I tell you what, 95% of the time you see a light bulb go off. So what's the one thing that hurts worse than the truth, than a lie? And that's the truth. So La Maison Dieu is where we see the light of God. It's where we open our eyes to see things for the way they are. Sometimes we choose to stay in the tower even though we know, because in an insane society, one must act insane to appear normal, right? And that's what we're used to. Other people, when they open their eyes, realize the insanity that's around them, and everything crumbles. But the thing about that is, once it crumbles, we have a solid foundation to rebuild with. So let's see what the next card is. It's the 3 of Swords. So when we sit back and, we have things that we read the newspaper daily. We are dealing with our families daily. We, somebody doesn't hold up their end of the bargain. So, we feel like, in relationships or at work where it's like, why am I doing it? These are all these small little revelations where it's like, you know what? I'm not doing it anymore. We have choices to make, right? When we open up our eyes, we have choices. Sometimes if we don't make that choice, it's like the Tower, we see it for what it is, but how long can that last? Because we have a choice. Move forward or stay where we are, see things for the way they really are or don't. But with the 3 of Swords, swords are the element of air. There are thoughts, our ideas, and sometimes our anxiety. And sometimes we need that disruption to come in, that third sword to come in. Because that is a disrupting third. And so, as I like to say also, is that we may choose to ignore the Tower, but if we don't make a choice, excuse me, something's going to make that choice for us. So let's take the next card, where we have the 7 of Coins. So part of meditating, part of doing what we're doing is we recognize that in an insane society, one must act insane to appear normal. Okay. And if it's a relationship or work and just a momentary thing, it's like, hold on. Why am I the one that has to do this all the time? Or that feeling that we get when it's like we get that revelation or we just make that decision. And it's going to cause a disruption sometimes in a relationship because, I've discovered in conversations when somebody says, oh, so we're keeping score now. The person who says, oh, we're keeping score now are the ones way ahead in the score, aren't they? Generally, because it's like we like that situation, but it's like when we throw that disruption in there, we've disrupted things. We've disrupted a balance that maybe have been out of balance. So this is about throwing things into balance that are out of balance. And then we have coins. Coins are our home, our health, our finances, and all the things that keep us grounded. And sevens. Sevens are about potential, drive, ambition. With the coins, though, it's about saying, you know what? I'm going to put one foot in front of the other. And we have to develop this patience where it's like we don't want the tower to just bring everything around and down and destruction. The sevens are about patience. It's about just doing one step at a time. You plant a seed. We have these things we want to change, but we don't need to do radical change. We can plant a seed, but no matter how hard we plant, we stare at that seed, it's going to take its time. So that's why in the Rider-Waite-Smith with the Seven of Coins, she's got the guy leaning against a hose staring at plants. That doesn't mean they're going to grow any faster. So as we look at this, it's about seeing things for the way they are. It's about allowing ourselves to create the disruption so that we can plant the seeds and then patiently see the changes that arrive from that decision. Because we can do the disruption again where it's boom, or we can do a disruption that says, because we chose to ignore things and let it happen itself. Or we could throw that third sword in there and then develop the change like a seed. And that seed's going to take time. And that's how we handle our relationships, right? But let's see what the advice card is. So we have two majors today. As I always say, it's like 78 cards, only 22 are majors, and a 4-card spread. If you have more than one major, then it's something really to pay attention to. The minors, these are the day-to-day cards. This is welcome to a Thursday, but the majors are the destiny cards. So today as we meditate, what is it? Maybe we even need to ask, where do I need my eyes open? What is it that I'm feeling that I need to change? And what is it that if I don't change it, something's going to make it change? Again, some people prefer for, I'll wait around until something makes the decision for me, which is not healthy. By making the change ourselves, before we have to wait for everything to come crumbling down, we just need to plant the seed, not get angry, not say my way or the highway this very minute, but we need to be the Seven of Coins and allow ourselves to grow back into a different direction with a relationship, a different direction with work, because we have the tools. We have our swords, our cups, our wands, and our coins. With the Magician, it's about manifesting. It's about doing something magical, something that's not there, and then magically creating something that's there. So when we change directions, We're not just doing it willy-nilly. We're thinking about it. We are taking what we've learned. Step one may be, I'm just going to talk to the person about it and say, hey, what can we do to get this growing in a different direction? Work, home, whatever. But today is about recognizing what it is that we're feeling before we have to let everything crumble down. Making a choice, and then having the patience and the confidence of the magician, the skill of the magician, to say, I am going to make this happen. And then we do it. Time to employ whatever mad skills you may have. You know, I also see that when I first read it was time will employ whatever mad skills you have. Ultimately, it's like either you can do it yourself or time will make you employ whatever mad skills you have. But today it's just having the confidence to make that change. So with that, I hope everybody has that amazing, amazing day today, evening, noon, wherever you happen to be. I'm going to use my mad skills to get through the heat. Oh my God, is it not nuts? So everybody, please hydrate, take care of yourself, and I will see you again tomorrow.
Stars in the sky, cards in my hand, searching for signs, lost in the sand. Whispers of fate, echoes of dreams in the dark slate. Nothing's as it seems. Flip the cards, turn around. The stories we have found in the shadows we dance. Take a chance, take a chance. Ghostly figures, guiding light, readers and seekers in the night. Hopes and fears, written in gold. Truth appears as stories unfold. Flip the card, turn around. The stories we have found in the shadows we dance. Take a chance, take a chance. Ghostly figures, guiding light, readers and seekers in the night.